All right, so we are live. All right. So I am here with my friend Ryan Stewman. We've had a few technical glitches in the past. It's actually our third time meeting. So Ryan, thank you so much for being patient and being here with me today. So Ryan, you are a world-renowned salesman, four-time best-selling author. You've been published on Forbes, Entrepreneur, and many more major publications. And you kind of have a crazy backstory, very inspirational, very motivational. And right now, your current business, The Hardcore Closer, it's a blog and training platform for salesmen, which generates more than six figures monthly and is home to hundreds of thousands of followers across social media. However, kind of looking at where you were not too long ago, you were locked up behind bars, and I don't imagine anyone would have predicted the kind of crazy success that you've had. So can you kind of tell us how you got to that point in being in prison?
Well, yeah, it's like a series of unfortunate events. You have an echo on your end, just so you know. Like
I do.
Yeah, so when I speak, there was an echo, but you're cool now, so it probably had something to do with your microphone. But anyway, so it's like a series of unfortunate events on my behalf. You know, I lost a job, I started selling drugs, and this is like 1999. I started selling drugs and didn't do the drugs, but I sold them. And then one time I did them, I got in a little jam, I got in some trouble, and ended up getting arrested for selling drugs. And I made some unwise decisions. And then after I got out of prison, I ended up going to prison for that. After I got out of prison, I got my shit together. I really did. And I was a normal functioning, church going, you know, church on Sunday, suit to work, mortgage banker. I got my shit together. And the cops thought I was still selling drugs. They was like, there's no way this bad guy that we put in prison already is like cleaned up his act. And they kicked in my front door. I wasn't even home. That's how good their intelligence was. I like their intelligence, whatever you call that stuff, their surveillance. But so they kicked in my door. I wasn't even home. And I showed up as they were leaving. I was like, hey guys, what are y'all doing? You know, like, hey, what's going on here? And I had been out of the country for like 2 weeks. I don't even know, or I mean a week. It was like 10 days or something like that. Like, I didn't even know what the hell was going on. I thought something had happened. Somebody broke into my house. My roommate got in some trouble or some shit like that. And they were looking for drugs. Well, obviously I wasn't a drug dealer. There wasn't even sandwich bags because I don't keep leftovers, right? So there's like anything in my house that resembles drugs. But they found a gun. And in Texas, it's a weird thing. It's kind of like in California, weed's legal, right? Smoke it, snort it, drink it, eat it, whatever the fuck you want to do with it, right? And if the California Highway Patrol pulls you over, as long as you're not intoxicated, they're just like, hey, man, enjoy your weed, right? I guess that's the only thing they can say. But if the DEA pulls you over and you're making a run from the dispensary to wherever you grow the shit and they catch you with 10 pounds of pot, like, it doesn't matter if you're in California or not, guess who's going to federal prison? And so in Texas, guns are that way. And so in Texas, everybody has the right to bear arms. Like, you want a fucking gun, you get a gun, just like the Oprah meme. You get a gun, you get a gun. However, the ATF doesn't, or the federal government doesn't recognize that. And states' rights do trump federal rights, but they also say, well, hey, we're not going to like fight for you. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to try to fight and bail you out. So what happened with me was I got arrested for gun, even though I didn't know, like, I didn't get the memo that the feds were different than the state, right? I just knew that I had my right to bear arms back. And that's not what they were looking for anyway. That was like, it's like you get pulled over by the cops and they're like, what'd you pull me over for? Psh, a broken tail light. It was that kind of a thing, you know? Yeah. And anyway, so with the gun thing, I didn't know about this. They arrested me. I took them to court and beat the case. And the city, like the state of Texas. Well, then they turned me over to the damn ATF. And then you don't go to, like, John Gotti lost against them. You don't fight the ATF, especially if you're a previously convicted felon. And so I ended up signing, after a series of crazier events. My lawyer that was representing me happened to be a black dude from South Dallas that was a Democrat, and he ran as the district attorney of Dallas County. Like, you talk about a fucking long shot. Like, the fact that he's black, the fact that he's like little experience. He's like Barack Obama. He's like very limited experience. He hadn't been a lawyer that long. He's a young dude. The fact that he comes from a rough part of town, didn't have any backers, didn't have any cash, and he was a Democrat in Texas, which is, you know, this is typically a Republican state. Dude, he won that shit. Like, he freaking stomped the next dude, man. It was like crazy. While he had to give up being my lawyer during my case because he got elected to be in the DA But since he was DA, he had pulled some favors, you know, like for me, because we had a good bond. You knew I wasn't like some shitbag. You knew that I got stuck in a bad fortune events. He's the one that got me off from the state, and then, you know, was defending me against the ATF too. So anyway, it didn't work. He did some, you know, they tried to give me 20 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
And yeah, I'd still be in that bitch for another like 10 years. It's crazy, man. But they ended up giving me 15 months. And so, dude, like literally in 2008, while I was getting out of prison, I've been in the mortgage industry since 2004 at this time. While I was getting out of prison, everybody was leaving the industry because, you know, it was like imploding and banks didn't have any money and all this stuff. And dude, I was so hungry coming out of there that was the only thing I had. So I just like went and pushed like Warren Buffett says, when everybody's greedy, be fearful. When everybody's fearful, be greedy. Not just went in there while everybody was scared to death and was greedy as hell. And it worked really well for me until 2010. Damn government. They passed a law called the Dodd-Frank Act. And if you were a felon in the last 7 years, you couldn't hold a financial license anymore. They did that because when the banks all went under, they were trying to get rid of the people from snitching and discredit them and stuff like that. And I fell victim to that shit because of the other shit. And it was just like I lost my license. And I had to start all over again. I didn't know anything. That's how I found my way into this whole online marketing thing. You know, it's like, dude, I was really good at mortgages, and I was one of the top guys in the nation. So I just started showing other people how I closed a couple hundred mortgages every year. And then from there, they're like, you know, you're really good at sales. You should teach that. And it's just kind of more from there.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's kind of a crazy roller coaster ride of events. And, you know, I mean, how are you able to just like manage that and like not feel sorry for yourself? Because I can only imagine how hungry you were kind of once you got your act together once you got out of prison and you were just ready, like you said, and then you kind of get just screwed over by just kind of freak incidents. Like, how are you able to stay positive in those experiences?
Well, I mean, like, well, first of all, I take responsibility. You know, the books are there to educate ourselves. If I would have been educated about the laws, I would have known. Had I known that the cops were, you know, looking for having my shit under surveillance, I would have acted different, but I was being flashy. I get that, even though you should be able to be flashy. That should be an issue, but I get that. I bring the shit on myself, you know, young kid, you know, with a record, driving nice shit, living in a nice neighborhood, fucking shit up, having parties. I get it, right? Like I brought the suspicion on myself. The first time I was selling drugs, I fucking did that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was my fault. I was selling drugs. I got caught with drugs. Drugs fucked it up. Like that, you know, there's nobody to blame. Nobody's a victim there. I fucked up and got caught with them, you know? And I figured that that's been an attribute, I think, to my success is instead of being like, you know, all this shit keeps happening to me. I was adopted, I'm bankrupt, been divorced, all this, like, been in prison, like all these terrible things. Instead, I'm just like, you know what, man? I should have fucking done that. Damn it, Ryan. Like, you deserve that. You know what? You did stupid shit and you deserve that. And this is how you never make that mistake again. And now sometimes I made a mistake 2 or 3 times, obviously, but I can't. Now I know, man. I walk a straight and narrow. Like, dude, if me and you were going to go somewhere, I'll be like, man, do you have a warrant? Do you have any drugs in your car? You're not carrying a gun, are you? Like, I asked you those questions. And I don't give a shit if you're a billionaire and we just met for the first time. You don't know who I am. I got to know. Because I can't afford to be fucking around and get caught. You get a speeding ticket and I go do 20 years in prison because I don't know you had a pistol in your glove box, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I love that. I love that kind of taking ownership of your life and you know, not blaming anyone, just owning it and using it as a way to move forward. And just kind of going back a little bit to your first kind of time behind bars, I mean, how were you able to kind of use that as a kind of learning experience and an opportunity to kind of reinvent yourself?
Well, you know, I honestly went in there the first time thinking that I was going to come out and be a really good drug dealer. You know, it was like, hey, I'm just come out, I'm going to be even better drug dealer. And then I'm going to have a prison record on me too. And then I'm going to be like, yeah, now I'm a badass and I got a prison record. So I proved I got a bad, like whatever. Right. But when I was in there, I had a mind shift. Because the piece of shit people that are in there are so fucking annoying that I'm like, I never want to put myself in a situation where I have to be around these dirtbags ever again. And so when I got out, I started walking the straight and narrow, even though this shit happened to me. But had I been educated, did I know you weren't supposed to carry a gun, that there was a, you know, like, you know, in California, if the DEA catches your ass, weed is still illegal. I didn't know that in Texas. It's not common knowledge. I know now. But had I known, I would have been walking that straight line too, because I didn't want to put myself in that situation ever again. And I told myself, like, hey, man, when I get out, I'm just going to go wash cars or do some like low-level convict job. and I'll just be like the best motherfucking car washer you ever seen in your life, man. I'm washing cars backwards, doing handstands, flips. I'll just be that guy. And, you know, I'll be like the best car washer ever. So I got out, got a job washing cars, and was the best car washer anybody had ever seen. And that's how I ended up getting in the mortgage business, is because one of the people that washed their nice car, she came in and she's like, dude, you're always hustling. You're always like right here. You're very attentive. You're on your game. She's like, man, you should come work for me. I'm like, does it pay more than $10 an hour? Right? She's like, yes. And within working for her for about a month, man, I made, you know, my first $6,000 in like 30 days. So it was like all of a sudden I'm like Scrooge McDuck rich. You know, I come from like broke ass humble beginnings and all that stuff. Now all of a sudden I've got all this, you know, income coming in and a pipeline built. I was pretty addicted to it, but that's what it was, man. You know, the lesson I learned was that I didn't want to do anything to go back to prison again. And I was even willing to not have all the luxuries I have today and just be on the straight and edge working at a car wash. But fortunately, I think it works like this, Matt. In my life, for every up, there's been a down. It's like rock bottom was that I went to prison, but I had to go through that to want to work and do my job at the car wash right and not quit in order to get picked up into the mortgage business to gain that experience, in order to get kicked in the balls again to only further my story, right. But make me tougher and mentally and physically strengthen and toughen me for things to come on in the future. Because, like, dude, I've been through some rough spots in my life. You think if like I run out of money and my credit card bills get too high, you think I give a fuck about that? You know what I mean? Like, I haven't faced life sentences in prison and shit like that before. If fucking Delta Airlines wants a couple $1,000s because I can't pay my credit card this month, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, there ain't nothing they can do to me. I don't have that problem. I'm completely debt free, but I'm saying there's not a lot of business scenarios that would scare me. So it's actually made me a bigger risk taker than some, but very calculated as well.
Yeah, man, I love that. And I love that, you know, looking back, you know, you are able, of course, to kind of draw the lines. And there's a great quote by Steve Jobs. He says, you know, you're not able to connect the dots looking forward, only looking backwards. And the kind of why I love that quote is because, similar to what you were doing in the car wash, you're like, all right, I'm washing cars, but this is my work. This is my duty. And I'm going to show up every single day and bring my best to it. And because of that attitude, you were able to then get into the mortgage industry and make a lot more money. And then, you know, using that experience, you were then able to develop your career further. So for those types of people who are kind of, you know, just getting started, maybe not as a car washer, but maybe as like an entry-level job and that sort of thing, like, what can you share with those sorts of people who are struggling with kind of bringing that fire to their work and bringing that energy and enthusiasm?
Well, here's the problem. Like, everybody wants to be Drake, right? They want to be like the superstar that everybody loves and stuff, but nobody wants to remember that he started from the bottom. You know, and I'm just being comical here, but that's the thing. It's like, nobody just goes in, like, you don't graduate college and become the CEO. What happens is you graduate college and you go through the same path as the person that got the job that graduated high school, right? Unless it's a very specialized, like if you took a rocket scientist and you go to work for NASA, you're going to be around somebody that probably started in high school that's gained the experience on you. And here's the thing. I've always thought of it as like, you have a decision. You know, a lot of people, they go to work and they're like, oh, the fucking boss, man, you know, fucking asshole, you know, he doesn't ever do anything. They don't realize that 10 years ago, he sat in that same seat and did 10 times the work you're doing is what got him to where he's at or she's at. And the other thing is, we have a decision. We have a decision to have resent for our management and a resent for the job, or we can make a decision to enjoy what we got while we have it. And I've just always made the decision to enjoy what I have while I had. Even at the car wash, man, it was like, hey, dude, it's hot out here. It's miserable. It's 12 hours in the heat, and nobody here speaks English but me and the customers. But here's the thing. You know what? This is what I've done, and this is a hell of a lot better than being stranded in a damn barn with a bunch of fucking savages all the damn time, which I don't mind so much these days. But being stranded in a barn with a bunch of freaking crazy-ass killers and stuff like that are just dying to fight each other and fighting over TV and, you know, all these, like, crazy things that prisoners do. Like, I just chose that the car wash is a hell of a lot better scenario. So anytime I was feeling bad for myself, it's like, hey, you could be back over there with them fucks, you know? Yeah. And that's how it is. Most people, they make the decision to go, dude, I'm like waiting on the clock to freaking come on, man. This job's so boring. My boss is so boring. But those are the decisions that you've made. There's somebody in your company going, dude, I love my job. There's somebody sitting in the fucking HR department right now going, dude, I love doing payroll. There is like that.
Yeah.
We were all made for a specific job, and you make those decisions. And in the car wash, I made the decision of like, hey man, this is better than where I've been before, and I'm getting a paycheck for being here. And you know what? Even if people are talking shit about me, I don't speak Spanish anyway, so fuck it, I wouldn't know the difference, right? This is a great. For me, it was the decision that I made to be positive and enjoy what I had.
Yeah, man, I love that. And you know, like, again, I think we have a tendency, especially people my age, to kind of magnify our situation and kind of put ourselves at the center of the universe. But in reality, kind of what you were just saying, there's a much broader perspective out there. And again, you have a very kind of crazy background, which allows you to draw on that perspective. But, you know, I think it's just so important for people to remember and kind of zoom out from their problems. But something else that you mentioned that I kind of want to dig into a little bit more is that there is a huge misperception around kind of success. Like what you said, you know, we see a Drake and we want to be like Drake, but we forget where he started from. And why is it that you think we have that misperception of success?
Because nobody watches people during the struggle. Okay, so when you're watching, the only time you see the struggle is when you see a documentary made on somebody's life. So when we saw Steve Jobs over the last 20 years, we knew billionaire Steve Jobs. In your entire lifetime, you've known billionaire Bill Gates. My entire lifetime, I've known billionaire Warren Buffett. We don't know what the fuck those guys did in the beginning. And if there wasn't documentaries on these guys, we wouldn't know what they've been through. So all we see is the success. We don't see the hard work and stress. So that's all we know. And that's what everybody thinks. They say they don't realize that I think Warren Buffett was like 57 years old before he made his first million. It was like something crazy like that. I think it was 40 something. You have to look it up, but it was like, it wasn't like he was just this rich dude. Like he was diligent and he started from the bottom and he worked his ass up to number one. And, you know, the thing is, we don't see that part of it, right? We see the Kardashians, right? We don't know what had to go on for Robert Kardashian, their attorney father, in order for him to be able to get as good, to be able to defend people like OJ and then high level people depending on. We didn't see his struggles that he went through. We just see Kim and her awesome clothing line and how, you know, she takes a selfie and gets 200 million likes. And that's cool. That's all fine and dandy. Good for her. But at the same time, she's not showing you the Armenian struggle of her grandparents and her father putting in all that work to get there, to make them who they are in Hollywood. We don't see that part of it. And Entourage, the movie Entourage, or the TV show Entourage, is a good example because you get to see, you know, the outside world sees like Mark Wahlberg, which is who ultimately Vince is this superstar that's never had to really go through stuff. And then in Entourage, you see they dealt with financial struggles, and you know, their financial struggles are different. The bank may be about to repo mine in your Toyota, and they're repoing their Rolls Royce, but a repo's a damn repo regardless, right? You ain't got a car, you ain't got a car. Right. And so like people don't see that struggle, even with guys like Gary V or some of the other like motivational Tony Robbins, right? Like guys that I respect. But you don't see whatever it was that you don't see Tony when he was a fat kid trying to figure out how the fuck to read all these books to get through the diet to where he could be this world changer he knew he was supposed to be. You know, you don't get that. We've seen Gary V show up in the last couple of years, right? And he's always talking about the hustle, this, that, and the other, but you can't ever really figure out what he's doing other than taking selfies every 5 minutes, right? And so people think, you know, he has millions of followers. So by definition, his followers are like, dude, hard work is taking selfies and posting to social media. And it's not, but he's not showing you. And I'm not saying anything, but he's not showing you the late nights where they're in the boardroom trying to draw up how they're going to sell the next big thing, which they have to do in order to be a company that big. But that shit's boring, so they don't showcase it. Okay, and so the younger generation, I'm not saying this as a person to pick on millennials. When I was young, my generation didn't have it neither, and when the generation before me was young, they didn't have it either. But especially nowadays, you guys have access to it, but nobody still shows you it. Right. In my time, we didn't have access to it. Who the fuck? The only way that you knew how to get like around a successful person like Zig Ziglar or whatever is if you were lucky enough to live next to one of them or go to church with one of them, or you could go to a bookstore because we didn't have Amazon. You know what I mean? You had to be able to walk to, Mom, will you take me a bookstore? And you fucking got bucks in school. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's like, because she knew she was going to have to buy them. And you got to read a book on sales. No, you need to read a book on like whatever, you know, probably need to read the Bible. Anyway, but like, you know, we didn't have that. Now you guys have it and they're hiding it from you. And so it's something that's always like looming in the background and everybody knows it's there, but nobody sees what it looks like. So nobody desires that part. They desire the result of it. And then there's a lot of people out there that basically that peddle the result of it. It's like, you know, we see affiliate marketers all day, every day. It's like, oh, you just set this one software up and click a button, and the next thing you know, it's sending you checks over and over again. Yeah. And they sell fucking millions of them, right? And we're like, dude, this is what people want, but that's not how it happens. But they don't have any shining examples.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I love that, and I think
what a rant there.
No, that was good. That was good. I'm excited to share that with everyone. But something that I love about you, and something that I think has contributed a lot to your success, is that you have been very transparent with your struggles and with your journey, and your story is, you know, essentially kind of your brand, and you're very open about that, and you know, I'm appreciative of that. Obviously, being in prison is not something I can relate to, but what I can relate to is the struggles that you've had to overcome and those obstacles. And so could you speak a little bit to how people can use their own story? And again, it may not be as dramatic as being in prison or anything like that. Like how have you been able to use your story, and how can others use their story as a way to kind of build their following and build their audience and career?
Well, you know, that's actually a really long answer, but I can give you the place to find the answer. There's a book by a dude named Ryan Holiday called The Obstacle is the Way. And really, that's probably the best place to sum it up. It's about an 8-hour book if you get it on Audible. So it's a pretty good, like, detailed read. But the bottom line is, I knew my biggest obstacle was going to be the competitors. And ultimately, I mean, people compare me to like Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and Grant Cardone and stuff like that, dude. Like, so, I mean, like, it's crazy, but like, I'm on a big level. And so those guys, and I'm different than those guys, way different, right? I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I'm just saying I'm way the complete op. Those guys are suit and tie, church on Sunday. I'm sitting over here in a camouflage Superior shirt, just got out of CrossFit, all tattooed up, shit like that with a faux hawk. We're different people, and I'm a lot younger than those guys. And so, you know, I knew that those guys and many more, when I stepped into their realm, I was going to piss them off because they've been eating alone at the table for a long time. I've been into prison where the dude's been eating at the same table for 10 years. And all of a sudden, I got to go sit down with them too. And they ain't going to be too happy to have to scoot over a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I've been in that scenario in prison. That's why I'm not scared in business. But now I have to go sit at the table with these guys. I knew the first thing that they would say, Matt, would be like, this dude's a 2-time convict that can't get his shit together and smokes weed all day. That'd be the first thing I'd say about them if it was true, right? It'd be if I was trying to form a weapon against them. So I knew that was going to be my obstacle, right? So the obstacle I'm going to have to get around is how the fuck can I be a credible source when I got all this like dark bullshit over me? So I thought, you know what? There's plenty of people that go to church on Sunday. I live in Texas. There's churches everywhere. I live across the street from a church that's bigger than Cowboy Stadium. I shit you not. Like, if I like open my front door, you'd be like, that is a fucking church. Anyway, like, and they're everywhere. It's one of many. There's one right across the street that looks almost like it. So the reason why I say that is there's plenty of people that go to church on Sunday. There's plenty of sales trainers out there or internet marketers or whatever that have suit and ties and believe in God and subscribe to Rick Warren and read the Bible and or the Torah or Quran or whatever they're into. And that's cool. But that's not me.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew that, you know what, the people that I want to work with, that's not them either, right? The people that I want to work with are going to be the underserved part. And that's really what I've done for the last 5 years is if you do go to church and you have your shit together and you have a great life and you're in upper management, dude, Brian Tracy and those guys are probably perfect. You know, if like you're not looking for technology, if you're just looking for old school leadership stuff, man, John Maxwell, those guys are all awesome, right? But if you're not that person and you want somebody who does cuss and who has gone through some struggles and who has beat some major bullshit in their life and who has seen some shit from fucking rock bottom and climbed to the top, then I offered an alternative.
Yeah.
Right. So I spun that, man. I turned that thing that would be the ultimate obstacle into the ultimate thing that connected me. Just today, Matt, an hour and a half before you and me hopped on here, this dude hits me up. He says, man, the heroin for 2 years now. I can't seem to get my shit together. I got 3 little girls and a wife. And if any of them found out, everything would be over immediately. And it's getting worse. And think about this for a second. You think that dude could fucking hit Brian Tracy up and have that conversation? No offense to Brian. You think somebody's gonna call Grant Cardone and have that conversation? No offense to Grant. Right. But they're not going to open. I don't know this fucking dude from Adam. You know what I mean? Just like he doesn't know those guys either. But he chose me because he knew that I'm the one that understood his struggle and I'm the one that could give him the advice, right? And I'm also the one that told him to fucking man. Anyway, it's a long, very mean message that I left the guy, right? Like, get your shit together, you fuck. But he needed to hear that from somebody, you know? And maybe the other dudes would have catered to him. Oh man, he must be going through some stressful shit. Like, I don't give a fuck what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
You know what? I tell you this, you fucking white and they don't like you in prison. And that's what's happening next. And I sent him a picture of himself. And I was like, imagine this dude with wrinkles and no teeth. Cause that's where he fucking headed, bro. Tell me one fucking successful story of anybody in the history of the fucking world that's been on heroin. There ain't none.
Right.
You know? But he needed to hear that from somebody who's been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like maybe he was looking for me to go, hey, there was this one dude in prison, man. He had his heroin game on lock, man. Right? There's no success stories for that shit.
Yeah.
But I serve those people. Those are the people that, and dude, here's the cool thing. This dude kicks the black tar habit in the next couple of weeks. He probably saves enough money to buy some of my programs, gets his shit together, provides a better life for his family. That's how we do business over here. These other folks can't do that.
Yeah.
And so I just turn what would normally be an obstacle into a way for me to connect with other people and show them that, like, hey man, no matter what you're going through, crack addiction, heroin addiction, your wife's leaving you, your kids are dead, you've been to prison, whatever the fuck it is, man, I feel you, man. I've been through that pain. Here's how you push through it.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. And you know, again, I love what you're doing, because you're just being authentic with people, and that's what we need. We need people to be vulnerable. We need people to be who they really are, as instead of what people think they should be. And
yeah, that's what we're put here for. We're put here with the DNA code to be a Mac. And in our whole lives, everybody tries to wire us to be a PC. You're like, damn it, that software doesn't fucking compute from an operating system.
Right.
And we spend our whole lives trying to do that. Like, you know, we have guys that are in entertainment right now that are using auto-tune. Remember, we ran Milli Vanilli out of the music industry in the 90s for that shit, right? We really should be apologizing to them. They were really ahead of their time. But like, but I mean, like, you know, there's people with no talent in the music industry making millions of dollars right now. And then meanwhile, there's a dude on a construction site around here that can sing better than anybody out there right now. But he chose to go and do what his mom said, which was be a plumber, instead of fucking going doing what the universe wired into his brain, which was to be a singer.
yeah,
And because of that, he's doomed to mediocrity singing on a construction site instead of being the next, you know, whatever, Michael Bublé or whoever, right? Like, but that's what happens. Like, people talk us into doing shit that we know we're not supposed to do, and then they say it enough to where we just fucking like give up, and we're like, you know what? It's gonna do it their way because I'm tired of being badger. People don't do that to guys like me because you know I don't give a fuck. Right? When you're giving a fuck, like lowers like the amount of fucks that you get when it goes down to a small. People stop telling you shit. It's like you got a friend. I'm sure that one friend that when he starts drinking, you can't tell him shit, or you might end up fighting him. You just gotta let him fucking deal with it, right? Like that. If that guy, dude, he's probably the happiest guy out of all of us because he does whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't care about anybody else. Meanwhile, the rest of us have the concern for how our parents feel, and how our boss feels, how our spouse feels, how our kids feels, how our superiors feel, how our friends feel, and we like get molded into somebody we're not supposed to be, man. I tried all that shit for years, and in like 2008, I said, "Fuck it, I'm over it."
And I mean, can you speak to that kind of turning point a little bit? Because, you know, like in my own journey, like quitting my job back in March, like that was kind of my turning point. And that was kind of a culmination of events and experiences where I was like, look, I can't do this anymore. Like time is running out and I need to do what's kind of true to myself. And so for you, could you kind of speak to maybe a turning point or two that you had that revelation?
Well, man, I never had that revelation. I was forced, you know what I mean? Like I was thrown in prison and then my license was taken away from me. So I never had to like, you know, I never got to make that decision. You know, it's like, hey man, I quit my job today. It's like, oh shit, I got fired, man. What the fuck am I going to do? You know, it was different for me. So it was forced turning points. And I think that's what made it so, made me so determined and made it work so well is the fact that I stormed the island and the boats behind me were burned, right? There was no getting back on the boats and getting the hell out of there. You know, once they took my license from me, there's not a, you know, and I could have went and worked in the mortgage industry and like done something sneaky or like got paid commissions on the back end. There was plenty of people offering me that, but I've been to prison twice. Who, if shit hits the fan and somehow the IRS, FTC, SEC, banking commission, whoever, investigated and they found out that I was getting kickbacks, who the fuck are you going to think? They're going to blame me for extortion. I'm going to go back to prison. It's not going to be the fucking CEO of the bank.
Right.
You know, that's not how this shit works. I have learned that firsthand, unfortunately. So, man, I had no choice, right? There wasn't no, oh, well, they did this. I'll just be sneaky and go in the back end. Because I'm like, dude, I'm done with this whole violating laws bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to mind my business last time they found out I wasn't minding my business.
Yeah, I mean, and that's awesome. And you know, again, it like, especially people my age, we're so influenced by other people and their perspective, their perceptions. But in reality, you know, there's a lot more people out there just like us than we think. And when we can just be completely open and transparent with people, that's when you have people who reach out to you, like what you just said, you know. Like for me, I've had a lot of people reach out to me once I've voiced my story of quitting my job and being frustrated and stuck or whatever. Like I've had people reach out to me, say the same thing. And that's the impact that we can create. So I think it's just so important. And again, I commend you for doing that, to figure out what is that impact I can create and just own it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Awesome. You know what it is? There's a voice in the back of your head. It's like, hey man, you should be doing this. Most people spend their whole lives doing drugs, alcohol, weird sex shit, butt stuff, all that kind of stuff to get the voice to be quiet, you know, because they want the voice to shut up. Meanwhile, the voice is like, hey man, if you want to be rich, and I'm not talking just money, here's what you got to do. And meanwhile, they're like, shut up, boys. I'm over here trying to fucking get rich. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we fight our whole life. Some people hide behind greed and money. There's 7 deadly sins. And basically anybody that is doing this is living on a level to where they're not incongruent with what they're wired here to do. We are all put here for a specific mission, and many of us fail and abort that mission along the way. Because like you said earlier, we are influenced by somebody who told you, like, think about this. Like my parents weren't millionaire entrepreneurs. Your parents, maybe they were, maybe they weren't, right? Nobody that I grew up in the neighborhood that I grew up had millionaire entrepreneur parents. Right. So when you're like, hey, I'm going to be a millionaire entrepreneur, and your parents like, get a fucking job at the car wash, right? Like that's totally normal for them because that's what they know. Right. And if we limit ourselves to what their knowledge is, right, then we'll be conformed to this little box. And oftentimes we end up spending our whole life miserable, like Fight Club. You know, absolutely. We spend our whole lives buying things to impress, buying things we don't want, to impress people we don't like, to feel good about ourselves, which never happens, you know?
Yeah, dude, man, that's right on. And, you know, kind of going back to what you said a little bit earlier about the whole kind of Drake and perception of success, you know, now we look at you as this kind of big boss salesman, and, you know, you have the results to back that up, and you have the numbers, and you have the growing kind of empire of sorts. But you know, that's not where you started. So were you kind of like a natural salesman, or did you kind of develop that skill set over time?
Both. I've always been friendly. And my little dude, Jax, my son, he's like super friendly too. He's just like me. Never met a stranger. You hanging out in line at the grocery store, shooting the shit with the woman in front of him. That's just like, that's how I was. Right. And when I was about, I think I was 16 or so, somebody gave me some Zig Ziglar cassette tapes. You probably don't know what those are, but anyway, they gave me some Zig Ziglar cassette tapes, and I listened to them in my truck. And on the way to and from work, selling car washes, because that's what I did. I sold car washes. Right? I worked for $10 an hour plus a couple bucks commission if I did my job right. And so people come in, they want a $10 wash. I'd sell them a $15 or $20 wash, and I got a quarter or a nickel per car that I did that with, right? And anyway, so, you know, someone's like, hey man, the manager of the car wash is like, dude, you make a really good salesperson. You know, what if you ever heard of this guy, Zig Ziglar, and he gave me his cassette tapes. And then when I went to prison, I had my family and friends mail me a bunch of books because Amazon had just come on the scene about that time. That's how old I am. And Amazon had just come on the scene about that time. So I had to mail me some books, and I had to mail me half novels and half motivational books, like some get your shit together stuff when I got out. So I started refining. Then I told myself, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna be the best damn. If I can make a quarter on every car, and they give me my $10.50 an hour back, then I can make $12.90 an hour. And I'm like going through this whole, you know, thing about how I'm gonna make all this work out in the long run. And I want to be good at sales. I make sure I got a quarter on every car. And turns out one of those cars I got a quarter on offered me a job, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. And just kind of, no, I'm probably not gonna. I was gonna ask about kind of like basic getting started into sales, but I feel like that's too general of a question. But okay, cool. So yeah, I mean,
oftentimes when you're in a position like me, where you have a sketchy background and you don't have a high school diploma, and you definitely don't have a college degree. I got a GED, but I don't have a college degree. I don't have any college credits, not even community college or anything like that. Usually sales is the only place they'll give you a job at. Like with qualifications like I have, you can get a job at a car dealership. You can get a job selling roofs. You can get a job selling meat door to door, business to business cold calling. Like you can usually, you know, somebody will put you air conditioning sales, things like somebody will give you a job as a felon because they're like, dude, felons know how to sell shit. There's no fucking lie there. That's what most of us are felons because we were selling drugs, right? We were selling shit, right? We were marketing and underground distribution that you cannot run advertisements to. That's pretty damn innovative if you really think about it. I mean, the whole reason I got into selling drugs is the first money-making opportunity anybody ever offered me. Like, hey, man, you make some real money? Hell yeah, I'm tired of this car wash shit. What you got? Drugs. Sounds fucking awesome. I'm in. How much did it pay? I mean, it was pretty damn simple to close because nobody'd ever said, hey, man, have you ever heard of, invested in gold bullion for $10 a week in 2 years? We'll have $5,000. Nobody hit me with that kind of shit, right? Hey, man, crack. That's what's that crack. That's what's that crack. White guys are going to love it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be crack. And, but, so like I didn't have the opportunity to go get a job in HR because they're not going to give me a salary job, right? That was my mindset anyway. Right. They're going to give me a job. We're going to prove my own way. And where is that? The only place I know where that exists is sales. It's like, all right, if you can get people to believe you and take a chance on you, we'll give you a paycheck.
Yeah. Awesome. And so again, you're kind of crushing the sales game, and you've also had multiple best-selling books. And so where did you kind of develop your skill set for writing?
I took courses, man. I educated myself. That's it. And I'm not the best writer. I write. It's you can tell that I wrote the book. When you read my shit, you're like, oh yeah, he didn't like having professionals fuck with this at all, man. Like this is like his shit. He wrote this, and I really did. I'm not formally trained or anything like that. I was just like imperfect action, it's like, hey, I write, but honestly, I think I'm looking here at my desk, dude. I have it right here in my book, John Carl system. It's in my desk. Oh. And dude, this whole thing is full of a bunch of shit like that I've taken over the years that I do refresher courses on. If you look at my middle drawer here, it's gonna be a bunch real noisy, but I have like words that sell. Like, dude, I believe in learning and then implementing. So, and by the way, while we're on here, here's my latest book, Elevator to the Top. You can get a free copy of it. I've got, right now, while we're recording this, there's 3,000 left. I don't know how many are going to be left by the time you're actually watching this, but you can go to elevatortothetop.com and get one. So,
and can you kind of share with us a little bit about that book and who that book is for?
Yes, it's salespeople. It's everything you need to know from day one to retirement. And so it's like, it reads like a BuzzFeed book. It's like 11 things you can do today, 11 things you can do when you're starting out, 11 ways to build a prospect line from scratch, then as you go through, it's like 17 ways to put upsells into your business. Like it starts you off from the bottom and it gradually takes you into like basically getting a master's in sales. But it's fun. The chapters are like 2 or 3 pages a piece. They're not very long. They're short, quick reads. Each one of them's got a call to action at the end where you can go check out an app or go to a website or watch a video or something like that. So awesome. It's not like anything else out there for sure.
Cool. Yeah, and I've seen tons of people blowing it up on social media. You do a good job of putting that up on your social media as well. So it looks like people are really enjoying the book. So I know I have to get a copy. And again, anyone who wants to get a copy, go to elevatortothetop.com and tell them Ryan sent you, or I sent you. We both sent you. All good. Cool.
Should be like I'm here.
Cool. Awesome. So we can wrap up in just a minute, but something that I like to ask kind of all the people that I interview, and something that I think is important, especially for the people that I'm sharing this content with, is, kind of knowing what you know now and looking back on everything that you've been through. What would you tell younger 20-something Ryan Stewman?
Man, you know what? I get asked that a lot, actually. And I always say the same thing. Just keep going, man. It gets better in the end.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell myself. I think if I knew all this, I wouldn't work as hard for it. I just tell myself, hey, man, keep working. It gets better. Because I know this, man. Everything we do in life is temporary. This interview, this moment, this conversation, these thoughts, these endorphins, these feelings, the prison sentence, whether it be 100 years, it's still temporary. Everything is temporary. Like everything that's happened to us is just a moment and glimpse on like this linear radar of time. So I've always told myself, no matter what it is, it's temporary. I'll get through it. And so that's what I tell my 20-year-old self. It's like, hey, man, no matter what you go through in the future, man, just keep pushing. As long as you don't stop, then you can't get stopped. You cannot be stopped as long as you don't stop.
Awesome. Cool. Well, boom, mic drop on that one. That's great.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for having me on, Matt. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that was great. Really, I'm really excited to share this. And just to update you on it, I am getting all my video editors in line to get all these videos edited and cut up and trying to get some promo videos out. And like, so for example, kind of like that last line of what you just said, like that's something I would cut up into like a promo video and use that as a kind of a drip to the promo of the full interview. So I'll keep you posted. I'm shooting for an end of January, probably going to be more like a February launch for these interviews. But I'll be sure to keep you posted, and I'll be sure to do my best to blow it up on all of the social medias and make sure the world knows about Hardcore Closer.
Cool, man. I appreciate it, dude.
All right. Have a great day.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, man.
Peace.